What's up, guys? So today I want to be talking about WCCF and why I'm bullish on this soccer collection. If you don't know about WCCF, it's a video game in Japan at arcades where you use these trading cards to play the game. Now, currently on the market, these are very undervalued. And the main two reasons why collectors don't really value these cards is one, they look like match attack cards, and then two, it's in Japanese. Well, I'm going to be debunking those two reasons in this video. Now, in order to talk about WCCF, we have to talk about the history and where it began. So the first game was titled as Serie A, which was begun during the 2001 and 2002 season. And this continued till 2019, and they renewed the game and renamed it Footista. Now, there's a lot of reasons why they renewed it, but one of the main reasons was because a lot of these player grades, they weren't balanced. Now, for example, maybe you play Madden or NBA 2K, but a lot of the point systems didn't make sense. So, like for example, like Messi was even with like a scrub or something. So that's why they wanted to change it. So they switched over to Footista. And as I just showed you guys now, this game has existed for over 20 years, meaning that maybe some of you guys who are watching this video weren't even born yet. So this cards and this game have a lot of lineage and legacy. Now, it debuted in 2002 as of this year or as of last year, 1 billion cards have been sold, making it the best-selling arcade digital collectible card game. And we might be wondering, why don't I see it in Europe, in the United States? And well, they did release it in 2005. However, the royalties were too expensive, and this made arcade owners afraid of the game. And so that's why they exited the European market. And now, a lot of people, like I said earlier, compare Match Attack to WCCF, right? Because you see the point system on the card, a lot of us automatically think it's the same. Well, to be honest with you guys, these two games are not even on the same level. One has existed for 20 years, has sold 1 billion cards, while Match Attack is very new, untested, and we'll see if it even exists in the future. Like, Topps is not the market leader when it comes to soccer cards. Panini is, and Panini is the one that's licensing WCCF with Sega. So I think that just to compare one of the most successful arcade games to Match Attack, which I mean, I took a screenshot of this. This is the Google Play Store. So far, there's only like 9,000 reviews. Like, I'm sorry, but you cannot compare these two. I mean, there's some nice cards in Match Attack, right? Like the Mbappe and some other very nice cards in there. But overall, as a platform, overall, when you compare the lineage and the legacy, I think WCCF blows Match Attack out of the water. Now, I just wanted to bring this point up really quickly. So on the right is a second year Cristiano Ronaldo. You can't see the card actually, but it's actually a refractor. And then on the left, you have your 2020 silver Prism. Now, in a perfect world, we would understand that the second year card has more value. And I think in other sports, you don't see this. Like a second year LeBron would honestly always be more higher priced than like a last year LeBron. But for some reason in this case, the silver prism actually goes more than the WCCF Ronaldo. And that blows my mind because wait till you hear this. The pop for the WCCF Ronaldo is 49. And guess how many PSA 10s there are? Zero. So, if you're not aware, the back of all WCCF cards are black, and so the gradability of these is going to be extremely difficult. So back in WCCF, what used to happen was whenever you won a game, the card would come out. But even if the card was damaged, even if it had print ink, you couldn't trade it in for another one. Now with Footista, if you don't like the printing, you can go up to the counter and ask the person to reprint it. So the condition of these are going to be very hard to grade. Um, I look a lot on Japanese websites, and it's very rare that I don't see whitening on the back of the card. And that's just kind of how like these cards came out. It's not like your usual packs. They came out of a video game slot. So you kind of understand whenever the card is sliding out of the vending machine thing in the video game, sometimes a lot of things can happen. And when you're going to the video game arcade, you're not bringing your top loaders. So a lot of these cards did get damaged. And like I said, these are almost 20 years old. So there is going to be some condition rarity when it comes to these cards. Whereas the Silver Prism 2020, you're kind of screwed if you're not getting a 10 or a 9. Whereas with the WCCF, I would take an 8 all day. Even a 7 is a cool number for me, I think, because I just don't think that there are going to be very many 10s when it comes to WCCF. So I do think that the 9 is going to be pretty much kind of like the barometer when it comes to vintage WCCF. So I do think that even a 7 is an acceptable grade when it comes to these cards. Now, I want to just talk about this really quickly also. This is something I haven't seen any other YouTuber talk about. I think if there's anything I want you to learn about in my video, is this point. So really quickly here, we're going to be taking a look at the Bitcoin graph. And so as you can see, between 2017 and 2018, there was a big jump and then a consolidation. And then just recently this year, it went back up. And well, you see this pattern not only happen with crypto, but you've seen it happen with Pokemon cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And well, this dip has happened before with WCCF cards. So around, I guess, 2013, 2016, I mean, WCCF was extremely popular in Japan. And some of these cards were going for like $1,000. But what happened was people lost interest in it and started playing other games. Also, kind of mobile games started kind of taking over about that period of time. And so I do think that there was a little bit of market share taken by alternative sources. As I said earlier, these cards weren't just for collecting. This is a utility game. It's almost like a TCG. So whenever players um, didn't really see the use for these cards anymore in terms of utility, the prices dropped. And so you might say, like, why are you encouraged by the fact that this is a product that has once been really popular then dropped? Well, for me, it shows that it's been tested in the market and that even though Japan is a very small country, it garnered a lot of interest. And in the future, I believe that the same thing might happen, just like it did with Yu-Gi-Oh, just it did with Pokemon. So that's why I really like WCCF cards, and that's why I'm extremely bullish on them. Now, like I said earlier, you have to really think about WCCF differently than any other soccer card that you might collect. With soccer cards, it's purely a collector's card, right? You can't use your Ronaldinho to battle Ronaldo. However, in terms of WCCF, you can. There's actual utility to it. So I just wanted to give you an example of other cards out there in the market. So for example, Pokemon. Pokemon, there's not a very big player base. However, it has an extremely large collector base worldwide. Yu-Gi-Oh, on the other hand, has a very large player base. A lot of players play it. However, when it comes to collector base compared to Pokemon, it's extremely low. Now, as I explained earlier with soccer cards, I'm using Mundi Chromo, a popular collection, as an example. But when it comes to player base, it doesn't exist. There's nobody battling your Buffon against Thierry Henry. These are purely collector-based cards, right? And soccer cards have a high collector base. Now, if we use the same thinking for the WCCF, now, like I said earlier, WCCF has hit a very high peak before, then came down almost 5 years ago. And now, during that time, there was a high player base. People wanted better cards so that they can battle their friends at the video game center, so that they can um, perhaps win more cards. And so that's what they were doing before. There was a large player base, but not many people were collecting it. It was purely for the video game. However, Now that we're still in the consolidation phase where we're still just seeing like, a flat line in terms of the price since 2016, I believe that eventually over time that it will switch from having a high player base to obviously a low player base and then a higher collector base. And the reason why is because this card collection has existed for 20 years, which means that they have tons of cards out there with tons of legendary players during those years that perhaps Select Prism doesn't offer. And so I think that due to the legacy, inventory of past players, and the design of these cards. Now, when it comes to the design of these cards, I don't really like the base players, the commons. However, when it comes to the refractors, I love them, and I think that other soccer collectors will eventually like it. Now, also, another argument that I talked about earlier was the fact that these cards are in Japanese. And I do agree with that knock. However, being Japanese, one of the biggest surprise that I'm seeing in the last couple of years is the rise of Japanese cards within the Pokemon world. I never ever thought that Japanese cards would ever come close to the popularity of English cards for obvious reasons. However, due to the rise of Japanese promos and just the Japanese sets in general, I mean, Japanese cards have become popular. So we never know with WCCF cards, just because of the fact that there's not many products out there that has a lineage of 20 years. And so when it comes to choices, WCCF I think is a very good collection that a lot of collectors just simply just disregard because, oh, it's another match attack. But as I showed you earlier, these two games are not even on a comparable basis. One is very new by Tops. Um, for the most part, not many collectors like them. And I think that has an overall influence on the WCCF market. However, from watching my video, I really want you to understand that these two cards are not the same. And I just wanted to show you guys some true rookies, Jadon Sancho and Phil Foden. These have been getting a lot of love by the eBay and the hobby community. I mean, the prices are going up very quickly on these two cards as people are becoming more and more educated about the fact that there's true rookies that are created by WCCF. Not only these guys, but cards like Benzema, second year Lewandowski. There's tons of great cards out there made by WCCF. And so I hope that you guys learned a thing or two. If you have any questions about WCCF, guys, leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to get to them, boys. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and thank you much.